All right, hi. I'm Justin Cook. I teach ninth grade English classes here at ISM. I also teach TOK, but the ninth grade classes we're currently reading Lord of the Flies, and I think there's a lot of connections to sustainability, and I'm going to try to use the compass in class. The boys on the island, they have limited resources. They're struggling to develop a society. They're redeveloping, I guess, atavistic traits, and have moved into a more primal state of existence. And throughout this process, we kind of see the development of civilization. The novel is an allegory, and it's an allegory for I guess, mankind and when we were living tribal lifestyles, hunter-gatherer lifestyles, and they develop everything, including religion, by the end of the book. And so, anyways, I plan on using the compass with them so that they can, we're about chapter 5 in Lord of the Flies, and a lot of problems are coming to a head. And Ralph has given a speech, and he's talked about sanitation, and he's talked about water, and he's talked about the fire and safety issues with the fire. Kids have been making connections between the fire and nuclear energy. And they're doing a lot of, they're making good connections. And so what I want them to do is look at the problems in the book through the lens of the compass, through the different 4 points, and talk about how characters address those problems through those lenses, and just to sort of reframe the ideas and to bring what they've done in their geography class and what they've learned about sustainability into the English classroom, and to make those connections. And as far as follow-up is concerned, I will be trying to do a little bit of follow-up with it after the fact, but of course we're also trying to get them ready for a major essay on Lord of the Flies, so literary analysis is the main focus. But it's such a great book to be able to look at sustainability, so I'm excited to do it.
The nature compass point is food resources. We thought that this was an issue because with the amount of boys on the island, we were afraid that the boys would consume the food faster than it could grow. The main two food resources that they have are pigs and fruit, and Ralph is concerned about the pigs running out because they don't know how many pigs there are on the island, and since it's quite rare to come across one, it's safe to assume that there aren't many. Jack is mainly concerned about killing the pigs. He wants to have the meat, and his reaction is quite unsustainable. Piggy is worried about the stomach aches from the fruit that everybody is being taken short. He's concerned because it affects productive behavior in all of the boys there. And Simon thinks that the Littlelands are priority. He demonstrated this when he gave the Littlelands the ripest fruit on the tree in chapter 3.
Your two main problems were food resources and shelters. Did anybody else have those problems? You guys also had, which one did you guys have?
Ours was economy. And it was really related to one of our major problems, which was in investment. Jack wanted to invest in meat and hunting, and Ralph wished to invest in the fire and the shelter. So okay. In that perspective, it's similar to the nature problem, because they want to invest in different resources of nature. So.
All right, so resources connects to the economy as well, right? These are all interconnected. Were there other connections? Did anybody else have some of these problems on theirs?
Yeah, we kind of had the fruit. They do want the meat, and they're starting to get sick from the fruit, but they're not sure how to take it. Like Jack is going crazy for the meat, but then some of the others are kind of like not sure whether they should go with the fruit or the meat. Okay, so what area, what direction in the compass were you guys? We were well-being.
Well-being. So what aspect of well-being were you looking at there?
We were looking at the physical health and the mental health of the boys being on the island. So.
All right, so when it comes to the resources, it connects to the economy, it connects to our well-being, and it connects to the natural resource itself, right? So this is all interconnected. That's an important problem that the boys are facing. Did you guys make any connections to that over there in society?
Not really. We had two different problems. The second problem we didn't fully explain yet. But for the first problem, it was we had an uncooperative community and a culture. For Ralph, he tries to deliver a persuasive speech to the little ones, trying to try to enforce rules onto the community. Jack supports Ralph on his decision, but also adds fear to the little ones for the beast and using political speaking techniques to deliver the message. Piggy, he refers to science and his imagination to support the idea of a beast as a fictional creation of fear. For Simon, he gives his opinion on the little ones' culture and bad behavior, but he gets shunned and accused of being crazy. And the other biggins, they're old enough to understand what Ralph is saying, but they're still too immature to take it into consideration.
Okay, so you're talking about cooperation, but you mentioned a lot about fear and the beast as well. Because it connects, right? So did anybody else have anything with regards to the fear and the beast? All right, Ayano.
So we also had mental health, and it's the fear of the beast. So for Ralph, yeah, he's trying to control everyone. Like there's no such thing as beast. Like it's just imagination. But he doesn't really know. Like maybe there is a beast. Like, maybe it's coming from the ocean. Maybe it's coming from the sky. So he doesn't really know what to do. And for Jack, he uses that fear for his advantage to like make everyone scared, and then he brings it on, and he is really like a dictator. He's like, oh, you know, that's gonna come to you and it's gonna eat you. But he doesn't say it directly. He just say like with lots of words and lots of action. And for Piggy, he's like Ralph. He's trying to help the little ends to like don't be afraid, and there's no such thing. But he's also curious that yes, oh, maybe there's a monster, or maybe, and that you can see that from his interview in chapter 5. He was asking like, oh, so there is a monster, really? Can I hear about it?
This idea of fear is important to the well-being of the kids and how they're going to manage their fear. But that connects over to the idea of society and the idea of how they're cooperating. Is their well-being affecting their ability to cooperate? Did anybody else talk about the idea of fear of this beast?
You know, like Ralph trying to manipulate everyone to like agree with him. We sort of came to a conclusion that Ralph he gets the idea in his head. He knows what's important, and he knows what everyone needs, but he just can't express it. So this leads to the problem of employment in the island, and the unsuccessful employment of the little ones, especially. So on the island, there are like two main factions or companies. There's the Ralph company and the Jack company, and they both want different things. So Ralph, as for Ralph, he wishes to employ everyone to create an effective method of production of meat or fire or shelter. Fire and shelter, probably, in Ralph's case. But he was, as I stated before, he was very unsuccessful at employing the little ones at the assembly in chapter 5.
And why might he have been unsuccessful in convincing them? How does that connect to this idea of the beast or fear?
So I think he's bad at expressing what he feels inside. I think I don't think he has the vocabularies, because considering the fact that he's just 12 years old or 11 years old.
Right, so he doesn't have the full, toolbox of rhetorical strategies to convince them. But before he can, you described it as Ralph's company, right? Before he can incentivize his employees, right? Doesn't he have to make sure that they have well-being? And maybe the little ones aren't in position to be able to help out yet because they're too worried about all the fear they have about now this idea that there could be a beast, and they're also sort of disenfranchised. They're not really part of the power system. And that probably connects over here to you guys, I think, with society. Yeah, Will.
That could also be connected with what Jack says, especially when he's doing. He uses his political speaking technique to send a double message across. That could also be connected to, as she's saying, because as I was saying, there was two companies, and like at the moment everyone's on the Jack side. I think they could also be influenced that because he potentially has a better understanding of the beastie because he's telling them that there isn't a beastie, but then he's also trying to manipulate them by saying there's not a beastie, but there could be a beastie.
Yeah, so how does this connect to governors today or governments today or government leaders? How does Jack use fear politically?
He uses it as like it's a security purpose in a sense, like to secure his own like win in like the between him and Ralph at the moment. They're going head on. So I think using fear, he could also be trying to like make Ralph look weak and afraid. And then because Jack is also a hunter, he's also the one who brings back the pigs. And he also started the chant. He could also be he could be saying that he's stronger and he's a better leader, and then he's not afraid of the beastie. So
Yeah,
the beastie comes
vote
with
for
him.
me because there's an evil thing out there that could come and get you. And if you don't vote for me, if you vote for the other guy, he's not going to protect you.
Yeah.
You know, and I see that in a lot of political campaigns.
Especially with the terrorists and stuff.
Yeah, with terrorism today. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, maybe the second term of George Bush was the American people responding with fear because they were worried about what might come and get them. So Jack's tapped into that propaganda technique, you know, that idea that you could manipulate fear. Once George Bush labeled North Korea, Iran, and I think there might have been one other, but the axis of evil, right? He's creating a beast, and he's using that to tell people, you know, it's out there, and you need me to protect you. And Jack's already started to do that political maneuvering, and that's how he's sort of leveraging power away from Ralph. Yeah.